Katie stared in shock for a moment. She knew lying about her name was bad, but, was it bad enough to go to jail? Please, have a seat, Mr. Watkins told her calmly. His voice was unmoving and cold. Katie started trembling as she walked in the room and started to the uncomfortable wooden chair. Was this it for her? Was she about to rot in jail for the next few years of her life? She sat down in the chair, ready to defend her freedom. Mr. Watkins whispered something to the older police officer. He seemed to be in charge. The police officer signaled to the younger one, and they both walked out of the room, leaving Katie and Mr. Watkins alone. "What do you need, sir?" Katie asked, still trembling. She started fidgeting with her hoodie strings as Mr. Watkins started. Strings were shaking as she messed with them. "Katie, you lied about your name, and this is something very serious," Mr. Watkins began, his voice getting colder by the second. "Please, let me tell the rest of my story," Katie exclaimed before she knew what she was saying. Now Mr. Watkins perked up and asked, "There is more? Well, go ahead." "Well, the part that I left out is that I hate my name. Katie just sounds so lame, and people would associate that name with an annoying popular girl, and that's not what I am. Caden is a cool name, and for me, a fresh start. So I told everyone my name was Caden, and I hope to leave my old behind." "That's how it really started," Katie admitted. She was sweating so much she wondered how she hadn't drowned yet. She also wondered whether Mr. Watkins noticed as he formed his response. "Well, what you did was a serious matter. I understand the reasoning behind it. Therefore, I will let you off with a warning. But if it happens again, you will probably be suspended." Mr. Watkins broke through his emotionless mask, and he smiled as Katie burst into tears of joy. She couldn't hold back her tears. "Thank you, sir," she exclaimed. Maybe things weren't going to be so bad after all. Maybe it's like the saying, it's always darkest just before the dawn. "You're welcome. Now please, leave my office." His mask was back. Katie walked out of Mr. Watkins' office feeling great. She forgot to ask about the police. "I'm always so dumb," Katie whispered to herself as the bell rang and she headed to fourth period. Well, 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 if it isn't your best friend Katie," she heard Josh's voice behind her. She was by Kat's locker. She whipped around to see Josh standing over Kat. "Go away, Josh. I don't want to smell you right now, so get out of my face," Kat retorted. Katie could see Kat was trying to look tough, but she looked a little scared. She started running through scenarios of how to help Kat. "Oh, I'm sorry my breath smells so bad. Does it stink as much as Katie?" "Oh, wait, nothing could stink as much as Katie and her lies." Josh burst out laughing. Kat looked uncomfortable and tried to get away, but Josh cornered her. "Come on now, give me some more dirt on Katie and I'll let you go," Josh teased. Katie looked disgusted. He wanted her to do her work so badly he was bullying Kat. Kat looked worried. Katie couldn't just stand to the side. She was the reason Kat was in this situation. Katie had to do something. "Josh, stop it. If you want me to do something for you, ask. Don't find dirt on me and don't bully me or my friends," Katie shouted at him. She felt nervous as Josh turned to stare at her. How could she have not seen this before? Josh was a bully, a jerk, and an absolute idiot. She was mad at herself for even thinking he was cute. "Oh yeah, and what are you going to do about it, Katie?" Josh moved away from Kat and started walking towards Katie. By then, a crowd started forming around them. Several kids were chanting, "Fight! Fight! Fight!" Josh swung his fist at Katie, and he was aiming at her stomach. She spinned out of the way as his hand brushed her hoodie as she stepped out of the way. "Oh, you got lucky, Katie," Josh screamed. His face was red with anger, and you could practically see the steam coming out of his ears. He threw another punch at Katie, this time hitting her arm. Katie cried out in pain. As she grabbed her arm, she quickly fell to the ground and fought the urge to run away. "Break it up," the familiar voice of Mr. Watkins shouted. "Josh, Katie, my office, now." As they walked to Mr. Watkins' office, Katie was sweating. "Dad, please don't be mad. It was all Katie's," Josh started, about halfway to the office. "I don't want to hear it. Josh, you are suspended for 1 week, and Katie gets back to class," Mr. Watkins interrupted. But, that's not fair," Josh protested, but Mr. Watkins just ignored him. Katie was in shock, but didn't protest. She walked away and saw Kat looking at her with such happiness. Katie ran over to Kat and gave her a big hug. Kat pushed Katie away. Thanks for helping me. I have to go," Kat said as she ran around the corner of the hallway. "How could I be so stupid? Of course Kat would want to be with me," Katie muttered under her breath. "You shouldn't be so hard on yourself. Katie heard a voice she didn't know. Katie turned around swiftly to see one of the cops. It was the younger one. She was a girl, probably 18 or 19. She had her hair in a blue pixie cut. "Who are you?" Katie asked, confused. She was examining the cop head to toe, trying to learn about her. That was something Katie was very good at. She could examine people and immediately know what type of person they were. Katie guessed the cop was excited, jolly, and over-energized type. "I'm Mimi," she said enthusiastically. Katie's talented right again. "And you're Katie, right?" Katie nodded her head vigorously. She was confused for a second. How did Mimi know her? Was she a bad kid? Were they going to arrest her?